welcome to another episode of Africans Talk Football TV. How's everybody feeling tonight? Y'all good?
Good,
Good,
man.
man. Very
Good.
good. Very
Prem
good.
starts tomorrow, y'all. It's like Christmas Eve, baby. Prem starts tomorrow. Happy Thursday. Just want to say thank you again to all of our friends, all of our supporters out there, whether it's day one or, you guys have been rocking with us from the start. We really do appreciate all the feedback, all the love that we've been getting over these last couple of years. And, like we said over, a few episodes ago, we're starting to tap in a little bit more with different type of content. Obviously, we have a special guest with us today, Abdul. We're actually talking a little bit before we started recording. I actually got to see him play coincidentally in one of his matches when I came down and surprised Gabriel, and Gabriel was at Cleveland State and Abdul was over at NKU, Northern Kentucky University. So it's crazy how worlds collide, how you never really know when you're going to meet somebody or see them again. So it's dope to kind of do this full circle. But just want to pass it off to Gabriel so he can introduce our guest here, and then, we're going to get right into it.
Yeah, man. My guy Abdul, man, we've been playing against each other since 2016 at this point. But we got to play on the same team as each other at Day and Dutch Alliance for a summer as well. One of my guys, man, pro footballer right now, also coaching, getting his coaching licenses as well. So, one hand forward, one hand back, give it back to the kids and, people who are coming after him as well. So, one of our earliest supporters for sure as well. We've been doing this for a while, and he's been, tapped in, watching episodes, commenting on things, always supporting from a distance. So mad love, bro. Always appreciate you, and really, this is almost like 4 years in the making. You coming on the pod now. You feel me? So, real happy to have you here, man, and mad love for coming on. But yeah, man, first just want to just really kind of just get into, like who Abdul was, kind of just describe like what was your upbringing like, you're African as well from Gambia. So, what was growing up for you like, siblings and kind of the childhood of Abdul.
Yep. So for sure. Thank you guys for having me, obviously.
Sure.
Like you said, it really is 4 years in the making.
For
so
sure.
It's good to be on the pod and everything. So kind of going early childhood, I kind of come from a big family, but I'm the only child between my parents. So I have 3 sisters, 2 brothers. My mom moved here in 96 and I was born in 96. So my 2 brothers came along with her, and they were about, I think, 9 and 7 or 10 and 8, one of the 2. So I kind of grew up just following and chasing them around. I was that annoying little brother that always trying to get away from, but I was always just right there, So obviously they had a love for football, and that got transferred into me because I was just trying to be like them. So kind of just growing up trying to follow in their footsteps. And I mean, both of their playing careers got cut a little bit short, but every step of the way in their careers, like I was looking at it like it was the biggest thing, if that makes sense. So I just kept kind of trying to reach where they were. I remember my brother being on varsity, I think his sophomore year, and he used to be I'm from Madison, Wisconsin, so he used to be in the papers all the time. So when I was a young kid, I was like, I want to be like that. I want to get in the papers. And that's just kind of to the point where I started taking it to the next level and steps. And then that's just kind of how my football journey kind of started, just trying to follow my brothers for real.
Yeah, that's super dope, man. That's super dope. And kind of going into being in the papers, I mean, you said you're from Madison, Wisconsin. Brother's a big influence, and you took a couple further steps, but I didn't even know this. Kind of doing my own research, kind of going back, I didn't even know you're a 4-star prospect coming out of high school. I was mad surprised. I was like, yo, I always knew my guy, he was good, but yo, 4 stars coming out of high school is, that's major. So yeah, kind of talk to us, before even like college, kind of take us through, your youth teams, kind of what youth teams did you play for? Just to let the people know, I know, but kind of what youth teams you play for, and then when in your head did it click that like, hey, I might be one of these ones that can actually make it out,
For sure. So I was kind of the kid that would jump around youth teams. So I played for a team for a long period of time until like 7th grade. Then every year after 7th grade, I was just kind of hopping around team to team. And Wisconsin is kind of a weird soccer place. We have like 5, 6 bigger clubs in the state, but like most people are really loyal to the club they're at. So they're there from like 8 till they graduate high school. But I was kind of the one that would go to this team, go to that team. And I remember when I was a junior in high school, I kind of made the decision. I was like, I'm kind of tired of playing club soccer kind of locally in Wisconsin, everything. I wanted to get into DA. So I played for FC Wisconsin, which is in Milwaukee. So that's about like an hour 15 away from me. So I used to have to drive like 3 times a week to Milwaukee. And then like I would stay in Milwaukee a lot and stuff throughout high school, which wasn't the best for my schooling, but it was definitely the best soccer choice at that age. So from like 17 onwards, I was just playing in Milwaukee and everything and getting home at like 11:30, 11:45 p.m., not making it to class until like 10 a.m. It's just what it was. But, you know, I had study halls in the morning, so it kind of worked. And teachers were understanding because they kind of knew. I mean, actually, a lot of teachers used to be mad because I didn't play high school. So like my
facts.
good, and we were supposedly supposed to make state and win state and all that, and then so people didn't like that I didn't play, but they were still obviously understanding because they kind of knew like, all right, he's kind of trying to take a step further. Now in the DA, I think, to be honest, I really like the DA. People have their mixed feelings of the DA, but I liked when I was playing there. I think maybe if we're comparing it to today's times, it was a better version of like MLS Next or ECNL. I think it was a little bit they gate kept it a little bit, which could be a negative thing, but I think it kept the quality of the league higher. So like you look at a lot of those DA players, a lot of them now are either playing professionally or all of them went D1. So it was just a different type of level. And that's kind of I was recruited a lot before being in academy, but then when I went to academy, it definitely kind of took a notch up, if that makes sense. Right. Yeah. But I committed pretty early. Like I committed before my senior year started, which I probably should have let it ride a little bit more with the offers rolling in, but I kind of wanted to stay locally. And then obviously I changed my opinion after a little bit.
Yeah. So okay. So DA, start playing at the DA. Yeah. So is that like when you really noticed, you know, kind of you noticed that you could play with these players at this point? You know, you're there for a reason. So is that when you noticed like, okay, like I might be able to really start taking a step further? And then when did the offers actually start rolling in? You know?
Yeah. So I guess I would even say before the DA, that's when it kind of hit me. I remember, so I played ODP, I think my sophomore year of high school, and I'm a late 96, so I'm a December baby. And I remember I was, out of everyone I knew, I was one of the first people to get for a school to ask for an official visit. So I was like, oh, that's different. I remember like the interest start rolling in like that early junior, late sophomore year, and I was like, oh, that's different, because everyone else they didn't like have any sense of that yet. So that was kind of my first step in it. And then when I went to DA, it was, I think once I started performing at a higher level, if that makes sense, around like better competition. I think I was always like a player, at least at that age, that would create a lot, and I would end up getting a lot of assists from it. But then when I went to the DA, I started seeing myself, instead of getting like 1 or 2 goals at that like state / like Midwest level, in the DA, I was starting to get 2-3 assists a game, start scoring on the score sheet. So that's when I was starting to think like, all right, there's something a little bit different. I know there were some big players, obviously, in the DA at the time I was playing. So competing with them with the goals and the assists, I was like, all right, I'm probably, because I knew they were on the youth national teams and everything. I was like, I'm getting close to them. So, and just kind of that mindset of kind of like chasing whoever was ahead of me.
Right. That's super dope, man. That's super dope. I feel like, as players, we all have that moment like, oh, okay, like this actually might be a real possibility, and that, you just kind of got to live through that and kind of have that chip on your shoulder, as I'm sure you had once you started playing with that higher competition and you're still performing. You're like, oh, all right, well, these are supposed to be the top dogs, and I'm low-key top dog of the top dog. So, like
for sure. It's funny because it's different when you don't play against people and you just hear or see. So like I remember, especially when I joined my academy, they all used to talk about so and so this, so and so that, and they almost used to be like spooked of them. And then I got on the field with them. I'm like, they're not really that tough.
Really crazy.
So like it was just one of those type of situations, and just knowing. I think that's kind of an upbringing too. I was brought up in the way it doesn't matter who's next to you. You can't hold them on a pedestal. At the end of the day, they're competition. So it is what it is.
Yeah, I feel that. Again, man, I just wanted to say thank you for hopping on and giving us your time. But I did have a question. I know Gabriel mentioned that you're into coaching now. You said something that was interesting to me about the DA program in terms of it losing its like exclusivity.
Yeah.
And I just wrapped up my 4th year coaching, and I've kind of seen a little bit with the rise of like ECNL, MLS Next. As a coach now, like when did it lose that exclusivity?
Yeah, I think it's tough now because obviously we're even seeing it more now with the World Cup coming, obviously in a couple of years. But there's so many new leagues, so much money being poured in, and if we're being honest, in America, soccer's about making money, especially at the youth level.
Exactly.
It's not really about like developing talent and what real like football heads are about, Yeah. So I think that's kind of where the leagues and everything lost that quality, because I think the greed of money kind of got to it. Now for kids that age, I think the biggest things, and mainly like what I see at my club with the youth program, but there's a lot of other clubs that are the same way. It's about knowing that I don't think now it's less about the league you're in because of the quality. Obviously, you still want to be at the highest level, but it's more about the connections your coach has and them having the willingness to bring those connections to you and actually have that true care. Because I know a coach could have the connection, but when they're calling about, let's just use the random name Benny, a coach, like let's say a D1 school is calling about Benny, they're going to be like, well, I have Jack and Bill also, and kind of push Benny to the side, So it's about that coach that gives that true connection to the players, and then also has the connections, I think, is more of the bigger thing in today's like soccer climate.
That's really
a great point.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So did you feel like when you were coming out of high school, and I know you said you committed pretty early, did you feel like that was a little bit of your case as well? Like, did you feel that your name was just getting thrown out there just because of your performances, or do you feel like your coach had, your side as well as, putting you on the map?
A bit of both. I actually think with my situation, it was less of a coach thing in high school, but then when I was transferring, that's when my academy coach I hit him up, and then he kind of started throwing my name out there to places. And then I think we talked about this earlier, not on the pod, but just in general. But that's when it really started. My name was just being thrown out to anyone and everyone, and I was just getting calls after calls. And it was, to be honest, it was kind of an overwhelming process because I used up all my visits. So it wasn't even like I could go to any of the schools because I did that in high school. So it was like I was just getting a bunch of people were calling me every day. Obviously, I had an injury at my first university, so they were trying to figure out like, all right, the player we knew about in high school, is that the same player that's there now? And then just a lot of that, and then obviously a lot of money talk just being thrown all over. So it was an interesting process, but my academy coach really helped me through that transfer process, and that's where now being a coach is kind of like full circle. I have that extra care to the players I'm coaching, especially at the U19 level, because I left the program. He didn't have to help me. It wasn't like any money was getting put in his hands by helping me, but
Right.
literally I was getting calls on calls daily because of him. And like, that's just that true connection that you want to have with someone that's like a pure connection, I guess you could say.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's super dope. I'm glad that, you had kind of the best of both worlds in that situation. Cause like you said, it is a lot on the coaches now. But kind of going just real quick before we get to, your transfer process and things, I did want to ask, cause, we've interviewed a couple guys that we've interviewed. Baji from DC United. We recently just interviewed King. I know you know King. We all played at Dayton Dutch Lions. But one question that we do like to ask people is, what advice would you give to, high schoolers now in that recruiting process? And, your recruiting experience was a little bit different. You committed early, but kind of what advice would you have for, up and coming footballers in America that are, thinking about, going here, going there? Kind of what advice do you have for them?
For sure. I think so. When I think back on my process, I think one of the big things that was, I think, a challenge, I guess, when I was in high school is don't let like pride get the best of you, because there was a couple maybe schools that I wasn't on their radar. I felt like when I was in high school, I'm not reaching out to nobody. They have to reach out to me first. I was just young and naive in that sense.
Right.
And I know there's a couple doors that I could have maybe potentially opened by just sending out a message first, because I had the talent on the field that spoke for reaching out. But I just felt like, oh, they need to see me. Well, maybe they weren't at these 3 showcases that I was performing in, or maybe at the DA Winter Showcase, they were watching someone else and they never could make it to a game. So kind of just putting yourself out there and making sure that you're either opening every door or trying to, at least, because people read emails. I think if you're good enough, they'll read your email and they'll see it. So I think just putting yourself out there is a thing. I guess another thing I would say too is when you're not committing to these schools, or when these schools are showing love and they're just not the right fit at the moment, make sure you respectfully close that door. I think that was another big thing. When I committed early, like I told it earlier. But the schools I was talking to before I committed, I didn't close the door properly. And that was something my mom always taught me, like, even when you're saying no to someone, you have to do it respectfully. And there was a couple schools I didn't, and that was wrong of me. But then fast forward 2 years later when I need them again.
Yeah, the door's closed.
Yeah.
Full circle. So I think that's really important too, because you never know. Football is a small world too. You don't know what assistant coach is going to get the head coach job somewhere, what head coach is going to get the job at a bigger school, or vice versa. You might go to this small D2 school you think isn't the right option. That coach gets a bigger job and brings you with. So I think noticing that the football world's small, like, you got to be respectful in every sense.
That's great advice. Honestly, that's
great
because I feel like a lot of players, like you said, just young and naive. You just don't know and think you're on top of the world. You're this, you're that. You don't have to reach out. These things, and closing that door respectfully is definitely like you said, you never know where someone's going to end up. You never know where someone's going to pop up, and I think that's definitely great advice. So kind of fast.
Oh, my bad. I was going to say, even talking about that a little bit, I will say when I was transferring, I had like 3 or 4 coaches they said to me, because they had Wisconsin connections, and they were like, we heard about you and we just don't think you're the right fit. But I mean, Gabriel knows this, but I'm a little bit loud on the field. I talk a lot. So like that.
What African is it?
Rubs some people the wrong way. So it just shows that's another way, because they were like, all right, we heard about you. You're not really the person that fits what we envision in our team. We think you might cause some issues, all that. And I mean, the thing is, personally, when I do it, everything stays on the field. Gabriel can attest to that. I mean, he can talk about it later, but I know he was probably thinking a different version of me before we met at Dayton. But that's just how I am as a person on the field. I'm a different person once I get off the field. I'm all chill. That's all it is. But yeah.
No, absolutely, man. I agree with every sentiment you said. Definitely thought you're a different person, but but also, you know, like we keep it on the field because, you know, I like to talk too. You know, like I pick and choose my moments. I like to talk.
I want to hear you like elaborate more. Like what do you mean? Like, are you like in terms of like leadership? Like, are you talking to your teammates or are you talking? You're like talking shit to other people. Is that? Like,
I'll say both, but more of the second.
Okay.
Yeah, nah, trust me.
It really depends on the game too. Because if it's one of those type of games where it's like it's a true battle on the field, then I'm gonna talk a little bit more. Just because I think there's how do you say it? It's the fun part of the game.
The game inside the game. Kobe always used to talk about that, the game inside the game.
It's the fun part. I think you can I look at the game as chess, and there's ways to hit people with a checkmate using your feet and everything, and there's ways of the mental game of also doing the same. So it's just a part of it. And I don't think it affects my play too much. I think other people, when their emotions get high, it impacts them sometimes in a negative way. With me, I've never really felt that. So why not?
That's interesting because you're a defender, correct?
So I'm a midfielder, but I'm also kind of a player that's I could be used as a utility. So I can play center back, left back. I'm mainly a midfielder. That's for the most of my life. That's what I've really played. When Gabriel met me, I was actually playing left back.
Yeah.
Okay. That's why I asked you what I asked you.
Man, you know how many times I didn't see him lock somebody up and get to once he started locking somebody up, that's when it really gets bad. Like that's when it gets bad. Like he's trash. Like it gets real bad. It gets real bad.
You have someone in your pocket, you gotta let them know. That's all it is.
100%. So kind of fast forwarding into now, you know, you're at Wisconsin. There for 2 years, unfortunately, injured both years, so really didn't get to see the time there. Kind of walk us through, you know, how that injury kind of impacted, you know, kind of like just your mental state and your time at Wisconsin, and then kind of transitioning into NKU.
For sure. So first year, literally like I want to say a week before preseason, broke my foot playing basketball with my friends, just messing around. It's one of those like just bad situations all around the board, because now going in freshman year, head coach is mad because why you playing basketball? But it's one of those things you're going to do with the guys type. So that year was a little bit difficult because that was like my first actual injury ever. So it was like being away, not being around, obviously new teammates and stuff. Obviously they're trying to be welcoming, but because obviously I was trying to be there and put a foot forward. So it wasn't like I was just trying to sit around and just chill. So that was definitely a tough year. Had a tough, basically, rehab process and getting back into things in the spring. Was playing a bit. I actually wasn't injured really my second year, but it was just kind of and I would say now my relationship with my first college coach is better, but our relationship got strained from that first year, essentially.
Right. Yeah.
So my second year didn't get a lot of minutes, in and out minutes in games, and it was just our relationship was really strained. At that point, we would have conversations all the time. I'm a person that speaks my mind, so I talk a lot. So me and him would have individual meetings all the time, a lot of back and forths. And by the end of the season, I was just like, this isn't really the right fit for me. I have to kind of go. At the time, it was a great program. The next year, 3 of the people I was really close with ended up getting drafted into MLS. He was kind of trying to tell me that in my best case scenario, I should stay because where the program was going. But individually, and I still believe this, for my development, it was always best to leave. So that's kind of my years at Wisconsin. I transferred. And to be honest, I think at NKU, we always had a very good individual team, but I think we could never really collectively mesh. kind of what we've been seeing the last couple of years with Chelsea, but it was kind of one of those situations where a lot of talent, but it never really the pieces never fit together. But that's where I think the mental side of the game and individually, that's where I think I started getting that like confidence and taking those steps forward that I had all the time in high school. I think the injury at first and just that up and down nature with the coach at Wisconsin kind of took that confidence down a little bit, where like, and obviously with injuries come mental health. You're not in your right mind through that whole process until you're back playing. Now you're back playing. You're trying to go 100 miles per hour. Your body's not ready for that. So it's just a lot of up and downs during that process that I think once I got to NKU, it was just a good feeling because I was just relieved to play games again. And that was the biggest thing.
I know that transfer portal, and this is you transfer at a time where we didn't have a transfer portal. You know, you couldn't just bounce around year to year and, you know, kind of just bounce around. So just for a second, just kind of take us through that process. You know, was it the Wisconsin coach that reached out? Was it, you know, your academy coach that helped you out get to NKU? You know, kind of what was that process like for you?
So I actually remember going to, I went to the basically higher ups, and then I talked to my coach, and I basically declared that I was going to be transferring. And I remembered back then, when you basically had send out you would have to send out almost physical emails or have someone reach out for you, and they have to declare in that you have like almost like an official letter of saying that you're released from the university. And I remember I got my transfer letter. I thought it was lit. I hit up 10 coaches that I was talking to in high school. No letter attached. So they all hit up my Wisconsin coach like, hey, your player's trying to contact us, this and that. So then it was like one of those situations, which is actually good from those coaches because they weren't trying to poach anyone or anything. But it was actually, the process was interesting because the coach at Wisconsin wanted me to stay. So obviously he didn't help me out or anything, and he didn't want me to go anywhere. My academy coach really helped me out, and he really connected me with a lot of people and a lot of good programs. And it just ended up that I kind of got bought into what was going on at Northern Kentucky, because when I transferred in, I think there was 9 transfers with 14 new players. He basically cleaned house, and we had some good transfers from a lot of bigger programs. So I was like, it was 7 minutes away from Cincinnati. So I was like, I kind of messed with this vibe. No football. So soccer was kind of the main thing in the fall, and kind of only sport. I like that feeling a little bit. So especially coming from a school with such a big football program, it was like, all right, this is night and day. So it was just the right fit for me in that moment, if that makes sense.
I'm curious, obviously, like, you know, going into your transfer process, you said that how important it was to like keep those relationships from the first time you had gone through it. What were the important things for you when picking a new situation? Obviously, I mean, you sound, you know, very wise, very mature for a player that young, you know, because a lot of people would just be like, well, this place is the biggest school. I feel like you see that a lot with kids nowadays. So what were some of those things that were important to you when you were making your decision?
I think in high school, I realized that coaches just try to sweet talk you. So that round 2 of kind of going and transferring, I was having more detailed conversations with coaches like, all right, in your system last year, how you played, how do you see me fit in this system, and what do you expect me? What is my role expected to be? And I kind of started speaking in that way. And I think that's where I started seeing, all right, there are some bigger programs that maybe they wanted to roll the dice on me, but they didn't truly like want me, if that makes sense. Or it just didn't seem right. It seemed like, okay, this is kind of that sweet talking, we're going to get you in here. But then from there, you don't know where it goes. So that was a big reason. I think another thing, it was a mix of, I didn't end up going to the place that gave me the most money, but I didn't go to a place that didn't give me a lot of money either. I kind of found that sweet spot, and that was I think a big thing too, because it's gonna sound weird, but I kind of believe it a little bit. I didn't like the schools that just gave me a lot of money and more than what is typically given. I never received a full anywhere, but obviously close to it. And I felt like that was a little bit desperate. So I'm like, I don't know what's going on at this program. That money around. So I was like, let me find somewhere that's a good sweet spot, if that makes sense. And I think at the end of the day, my coaches at NKU, what they promised me in the beginning, they looked out for me. So I was always on better money every year. And then I was also getting scholarships from like educational purposes and stuff as well. So I came out of college debt free, which is always good.
That's the goal, man.
Blessing.
That's a blessing. Talk to us about NKU, man. I live in Cincinnati now, man, and we train there a lot. It's a great facility.
For sure.
What was your experience like there?
I think one, seeing the pictures of like a soccer specific stadium. I know now they have the little track on the side, but that was obviously, they said 7 minutes away from Cincinnati, soccer specific, no football team. That was kind of buzzwords that I kind of liked, because when I heard Northern Kentucky, I was like, there's no way I'm going there. But I had no idea. I didn't know that
you was about to be out in the sticks.
Yeah, exactly. But once getting there, that athletic department really truly cares about the athletes, and like to the point where they're giving me internships with marketing for athletics, because that was my major back then, looking out stipends with that position obviously as well, and just little things that they were looking out, like looking for the grader of the athlete. I used to be annoyed because when I transferred in, they used to make me do mandatory study hall.
Facts,
And
man.
I was like, I don't need help. Like, I'm straight. I'm good. But they really, like, if you look at the team GPAs of each team and how high it is, they really care about kind of trying to set up athletes for, all right, let's give them a good platform for their sport, but let's make sure they're really doing the right thing in class. And that was another thing, transferring at Wisconsin in bigger schools. I wasn't the best student in a 100-person lecture. So I knew when I was transferring, wherever I'm going, I need to be somewhere with a smaller class size, because if it's 100-person lecture, I'm gonna put up Champions League, and I'm not gonna listen to the word.
Real talk.
On me.
Tell him.
On me.
Nah, man, that's real. That's real though, man. That's
facts.
real shit. That's like a lot of kids need to hear that, learn from that, because everybody wants to go to X, Y, and Z, but and that's what Baji said when we talked to him. Like, everybody wants the best, best, I guess, name, brand, whatever the case may be. Yeah. But sometimes that's not always what's best
for you.
Yeah, no, facts. Bigger isn't always better. You feel me?
Yeah, and I think what people don't understand is you can build a platform anywhere, for real.
Yeah.
Like, if you're going to a mid-major, if you're going to a D2, the funny thing is when you play pro, you realize, like, all right, that brand of D1 meant so much, but then you see so many players coming from D2 schools. So, like, there's no real correlation. Obviously, I'm talking lower leagues, not or MLS, but still in Championship, League One, and even in NISA, you see a lot of kids coming from programs that aren't the biggest programs in the world and stuff. So I think just making sure you have the right school for you, the right program for you, and then just making sure you're maturing in the process, because those lows I reached in Wisconsin really developed me to be ready for when I went to NKU, if that makes sense. The student I was at Wisconsin was night and day from the student I was at Northern Kentucky. So it was two different versions of me, really.
That's inspiring, man.
Yeah. So, I mean, you were at NKU. Obviously, you got a little bit more luck with your health, obviously playing through those 2 years there. So kind of talk about senior year, you're balling out. you're starting to get offers, you're starting to look to go pro, or how was that process?
So actually, basically my 2 years at NKU in the summers, I played at Dayton. And throughout my second summer at Dayton, I went into a couple clubs. So that was when I think that was actually after the first year of League One, or it might have been the first year of League One, but I went into a couple League One spots. Obviously, being from Madison, Forward Madison had me in. And that's when I kind of knew, like, all right, if I knew at that point going into my senior year, I was like, all right, I'm at a mid-major. I'm probably not going to get drafted, but there's championship in League One. And I was getting a little bit of like interest there. My coach had connections. So kind of good scenario set up after I picked up my Achilles heel, I guess you could say for me, always has been my fifth metatarsal. So that was my first injury at Wisconsin. Happened again my senior year at NKU, but I played through it. And then
no, hold on. Don't fact that you played through the whole season now.
No,
I know you remember that game winner now. I know you remember that game winner now.
hey, like I said, the game you went to, the first one, 2 years later, I wasn't playing in the game. He had a game winner. I'll give us a pause for that. But yeah, I had to sit out a couple games, obviously, my senior year because of my foot. But I had hardware in it, and they told me that I couldn't even make it worse if I kept playing on it. So I just sat out a little bit, played the last 7 games. Probably wasn't the best decision. Went into a club. First couple of days of training, I was like, my foot, I can't be playing in a session and then after the session not be able to walk properly. So something got to be up. Got it checked. Basically, they were like, yeah, you're going to have to get another surgery.
Damn.
Surgery gets basically, I can't even think of the word, scheduled. And then COVID hits. So it just, so it was weird because I was like, man, I can't go into my first, because I graduated in December. I was like, I can't go into my first period where I should be getting into a pro club and getting surgery. That might be the end of everything. But then, even though it was obviously tragic that COVID happened, COVID froze the football world. So it was kind of a positive for me in that sense in getting my surgery because I was rehabbing almost everywhere in the world for a period of time was stopped. And even when it returned, it was so different. So I had some time during 2020 to kind of get my foot back for 2021 to start kind of pushing back into getting into rosters and stuff.
Dope. That's super dope. So COVID happens, which, I mean, it put the football world on pause, obviously, for the big leagues. But, people don't really think about, the smaller leagues that are around. And, especially talking through you were going through rehab and a lot of stuff. That must have been tough. Now, when things come back, you're starting to get, a little bit more looks. I kind of want to talk about your experiences playing abroad because you played in Brazil and I believe the Gambia. Is that true?
Yeah.
So how did you get hooked up with looking abroad to play?
So in 2021, I was with Charlotte Independence was in USL Championship at the time. So I basically spent the whole preseason with them, and I don't think people understand kind of how brutal the football world can be. Because I was with them, I was playing well and everything. Basically, about, I'd say a week and a half before the season started, they get 2 loans from MLS clubs in midfield. So then it's kind of like, all right, thank you, Abdul, for your time, but see you later. Wow. So it's the end of preseason. Everyone's rosters are basically full and everything. So I'm like, man, I don't know what I'm going to do. So I was just I was in like a 2-week hiatus. And then my aunt lives out in Philly. So a club out there basically reached out and it was just a League 2 team. They're like, would you want to just play out here for the summer? Because I was kind of visiting her and stuff. And I was just like, I guess I'll stay out here. So gave me a little bit of money and I played with them. A connection I had from the past kind of hit me up. His uncle said he watched a game of mine. He was Brazilian. And then that's kind of what set me up there. So I just kind of that I didn't have a pro club at the time, so I was like, let me go out to Brazil and kind of see how it is there. I was playing in the state league, so they kind of have a football system that there's two of them and they coexist. So like when you see like the Serie A in that full football system, all the teams in Serie A play in the state leagues as well before their competition. So it's like I think you could say like 2.5 month-long season essentially. And you basically play everyone twice, championship games, and that's how it goes. So I was in the second division at first for a team in Joinville. It was called NISA Sports. I really liked my time there with them. The football was good. Like everything was good. Facility, had housing on the facility. Didn't have to leave if I didn't want to, but I'm kind of a explorer type, so I would want to try to kind of see and stuff. So it was decent. No, yeah, and I really enjoyed my time there. Did see some crazy stuff at that club, but like nothing. Actually, I saw some crazy stuff, but
like footballer wise, or just like crazy stuff.
More off the field. Just the way
we want to hear that. We want to hear that.
Yeah, I want to hear about Brazil.
I can't really share everything, but
we'll talk off.
Yeah, keep it PG, like PG-13.
Yeah, we'll talk more off, but we ended up third, so we didn't make the first or second to play in the championship round, and essentially our pay was coming in a little bit late once we didn't.
I see where this is going. Yeah.
And some players took matters into their own hands because we lived on the facility, so some players took matters into their own hands, and that's the most I'll say out of it, which was kind of just crazy because I was like, this ain't like the U.S. But and then I transferred to a team that was in the first division of their state, Sinope, and I was there for a bit. Right before the season, kind of on some shadiness kind of happened. I was like, let me get back to the States before I'm here too long. So that was kind of my time. So I only really played, except I played a whole preseason with the second club, but I left before I got into the league just because of how it was. Then when I was back a little bit. When I came back, it was like mid to late preseason. So I went into a couple clubs in the U.S. Then again, nothing really stuck. I was a little bit late in joining, and it's tough. I received a couple contracts, but it just wasn't what I deemed right for me to accept. So the money just wasn't right. So I was like, I don't know if I'm going to do all this. And that's just lower league football. I think some people understand that you can get some really good situations, and then other ones are a little bit. It's not a lot. So I was just like, yeah, this isn't the right amount of money. I don't really want to accept it. And then I didn't see my grandma in a while, so I was like, let me take a flight back home, play in the first division. We actually won the first division when I was playing back home, so it was kind of a good experience just being back around a lot of family I haven't seen because of COVID. I normally used to go back like every other year. When COVID hit, I hadn't been back in like 4 or 5 years. So I was like, I need to go back see my family for real. So it was a good experience.
Yeah, what was kind of footballing wise? I know you played in Brazil, second division, first division for a bit, playing in Gambia as well. What were the major differences between the two leagues, and how did it help your game personally?
So being in in Brazil, I was obviously in the state leagues, so I was never in the national leagues. But when I was playing there, it was interesting just because you really see the different styles of play. You know, Brazilians, a lot of flair, really good taking people off the dribble. Can't really get close to a lot of them. So I remember my first couple sessions, they saw me. Obviously, everyone looks up. They see, all right, he's played left back. They put me at left back. I received the ball. I'm looking forward. I probably have like 55 yards of space I could just drive into. Nobody approached. I was like, this is kind of weird. It was almost too much time where I was like, I don't even want to.
What do I do?
Like, I'm not doing anything by just dribbling, but you kind of realize like they know if you get tight to a player, and you get done, now your team's in a lot of trouble. So they kind of just keep a lower block. So me as a player, it wasn't really the right thing. So very quickly I got shifted back into the midfield. And in Brazil, that was basically the best position I played, was in the midfield. And I enjoyed it. It was different. It was very different. I mean, it's a lot of, at least in the state leagues, until you play those bigger clubs, it's a lot of individual play. But like, I don't know how to, it's like very organized chaos is the best way to explain it.
I know how that feels.
So like, it's different. And then when I was in Gambia, like the team I was with, a bunch of my teammates, they're all younger. Now a lot of them are playing in Europe. I think 6 or 7 of them are all playing in Europe, a couple in first divisions. So very talented team, a lot of younger guys. I don't know if you guys paid attention to the Cup of Nations or anything for the U20 level, but obviously Gambia has a really good team. And there was like, I think 3 or 4 of my teammates were on the team.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So like, that kind of shows the talent. Again, a lot of young individual talent, obviously not a lot of structure in the league, in systems of play. But I mean, it was just fun playing in front of like 10,000 people back home. It's a different type of energy. Same in Brazil. It's funny when you play in the States, you could play in front of 8,000. It doesn't matter. It's way different. 8,000 States compared to even like 1K over there. It's a different energy. So I was just fortunate in Brazil. I didn't know what they were saying. So, but no, for sure. It's just, it was a blessing being able to go to both countries.
Yeah.
That's what's up. Yeah. That's what's up. So you come back to the States, and for those who may not know, the league that you're currently in, explain a little bit about like, the different tiers of U.S. football and what the National Independent Soccer Association, the NISA, is, and how you got, acclimated with that and, kind of current. Yeah.
So obviously the MLS at the top, you got USL Championship as a second division, and very odd, but in the U.S. you got USL League One on the third, NISA on the third, and then MLS Next all on the third. So there's 3 leagues in the third tier.
I didn't realize they were all on the same tier.
Yeah, all on the same tier. Now, if we're being honest, USL League One with they have a players union and just they have minimums and everything. It's just kind of a better ran league. Not saying the club I'm at, I think pretty much operates at a USL League One level, but some of the clubs in my league might not operate in that way, and that's where NISA kind of gets that bad rep because of that. So I was always, before I was like, I don't think I'm going to go to a NISA club just because of what I've heard of it in the past. But when I kind of got set up with Maryland Bobcats, and there's been a couple teams in NISA, like if you look at Detroit City, they were in NISA originally. Oakland was in NISA. Chattanooga, my first year at Bobcats, were in NISA. So these are well-run clubs. They were also in the same league. So you got a lot of good clubs coming out of the league. Obviously, some of them are leaving, but then there's still like we have some good talent and some well-ran clubs in the league currently. When I got back from Gambia, it was kind of I went into three teams. So I went into one USL League One team. I went in, obviously, Maryland Bobcats, and then another team in NISA. And with the other team in NISA, I played against Atlanta United, which was obviously a good experience in front of, I think it was like 7 or 8K. And then kind of went to a USL League One where, again, I think I'm getting unlucky with the loan players coming in because 2 clubs from low players coming in the same position. So didn't sign there, and then I ended up at Bobcats. And I think that loan player coming in when I was at that League One team was a blessing because I haven't regretted, obviously, signing since the day I signed with Bobcats. So it's been a good situation.
That's what's up. That's what's up.
I mean, you guys are your history speaks for itself. I was doing a little bit of research. I mean, you guys won the Mid-Atlantic region 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, and then you just won it again in 2024.
And in an interesting way. So obviously our club has a youth program, and not everyone would obviously know this when they see that, but our cup roster basically had no first team players in it.
Wow.
Wow.
All of our U23 team, it was a mix between our U19, U23 team, and then a little, like, I think it was like 2 or 3 kind of first year pro guys. So all credit to them, because I mean, some of my players on the U19 level are 15, 16, and they were playing 90 games in that tournament against grown men. And we can all say here, no matter what level grown men football, it's very different than youth, and they were all able to hold their own. So all credit to them. They did a really good job, and they secured that last trophy. So it's funny, it goes under the pro name, but it was really the youth and the reserve team that did the work, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Along with some pro players, but still. But yeah, and that's kind of what the club's about, where I think you see a lot of other clubs, the intentions in it is done for different reasons, but the intentions in Maryland Bobcats is a lot for giving the platform, one, to players that haven't really received the platform in the past, obviously being owned by a Black owner and ran by a bunch of people that obviously look like ourselves. It gives a different kind of respect to the players, and then also making sure that platform is given to the youth and to reserve guys, where most teams have reserve players just for money purposes, for being honest.
Yeah.
So I have a question. It's a little off topic, but it came up when you were explaining that there's 3 different leagues in the third tier of the U.S. system. So because, the U.S., we don't have relegation and promotion, how do teams like Chattanooga, kind of jump up to the USO? Is it all a money thing?
It's
all a money thing.
Only money. So
interesting.
Yeah, it's very interesting. So, and this is right now, thinking about the most recent news that you're seeing is probably Lexington, who's in last place, I believe, in League One currently. They're going to be in USL Championship next year.
Yeah.
So that just gives you the grand scheme of things. And when it comes to professional soccer, when it comes to youth soccer, I think that's always going to hold the U.S. back a little bit, because we're not trying to build something. We're trying to get the most money out of whatever we're building. And I don't know if that system's going to ever be undone. Me personally, I don't believe there's ever going to be promotion relegation in the U.S. because of how the foundation, I think, might be laid already. And I don't think there's any way around it. I think that would be the best scenario, but unfortunately, I don't think we're going to get that.
That's great.
It's super unfortunate. I mean, that's literally every foundation in American football is like that. Like, even, I play indoor right now, and the reason that, when we first started off, I believe it was the MASL, Major Arena Soccer League, and the reason that we're in Division 2 compared to Division 1 or League 1 in the first division was because of money. It's all because of money. You have to have a certain minimum already tucked away before you can move up a league. So teams might be terrible, but their owners have the backing, or their owner it has that much money to say, hey, we're going to move up into this higher division so we can get these players, and then we can start to, form a team and get better. But yeah, it's all a money thing in America, and every professional league in America, it's only about money. You can be terrible and still move up, move up leagues.
It's a crazy concept to try to wrap your head around.
It really is. I'm sitting here like, wow.
There was a video online that was saying the Yamal, the guy for Barcelona in Spain, is saying, like, if he was living in the United States, he probably wouldn't have the same opportunity to showcase what he could do, because the average cost, I guess, was, like they said, $7,000 to play. So, like, if you can't afford that, then
and that's at a decent club, bro. Just a decent club.
I mean, that's just an average number they threw out. But
it's crazy. I think moving out to the East Coast, being in the DMV area, in the Midwest, obviously it costs a lot to play. But once you come out here, you're like, it's crazy. I'm like, yeah, my parents would have never agreed to this. Like they wouldn't. Back in the day, even in the Midwest, they weren't agreeing. I just had some like fortunate people basically having my back in those clubs, kind of giving me a little bit of a scholarship.
No, 100%.
I think we can all speak from that experience.
Yeah, no, for sure.
If not, I would have been playing rec and just trying to do something.
It's funny enough you say that. This warm-up jacket was my coach's. He gave me my first warm-up jacket. Shout out Mo. Shout out Mo.
And again, being young and naive, I used to not know that they didn't give those scholarships to everyone either. So
Man,
I used to be coming into a new team like, yeah, they only make us pay for the jerseys here. And everyone like,
so you gotta chill. Hey, don't say that too loud.
Hey, you talking way too much.
100%, man. Yeah, I think, like we said, Cornelius and I were definitely fortunate when we were, growing up to be on scholarship. Same as you just said, bro. Having those same conversations, like, we only got to pay for jerseys. But even my mom coming and telling me, like, yo, like, be easy, like don't blow up the spot now, because there are people honestly paying. And this is the Midwest, I know in DC, DMV area is completely different, but I'm talking about 3,000 a session. 4,000 a session. This is just a winter session or a spring session.
Sometimes it doesn't even include the tournaments that you might.
Yeah, no tournaments. No jerseys, and then a third. Like, bro, I had tournaments covered. You feel me? All I had to do was get from point A to point B, and that's it. You feel me? So like, it's crazy. Kind of the American structure. But no, like we said, man, definitely blessed to be in those situations and and still be able to play given our circircumstances.
Yeah.
Let's get into Chelsea, man.
Let's talk some. Let's talk. I heard you're a Chelsea guy. I heard you're a Chelsea guy. I want to hear your thought.
Look at the cup.
We got the cup. Show him the cup.
I'm gonna just sip my little tea.
Blue's the color, man. Blue's the color. Blue's the color.
Bro, I don't know. So what?
Tell us about how you feel about Chelsea, man.
All
Tom, go ahead. Sorry.
And how did you become a fan?
I become a fan.
Yeah, okay, and then how you feel currently about the squad?
It's because I was the type of kid that was always against the grain. So I live in a household full of Arsenal fans. So it was only right to pick the best club in London. Go against it,
Wow, you're crazy.
Facts.
So from a young age, I just like to argue. So I was like, this Chelsea, this blue team, I'm gonna pick them to argue against. And then my favorite player is Frank Lampard. Growing up as a kid, I wanted to model my game like him. I wanted to be a high-scoring midfielder. So I was like, I really kept my eye out for him. And then you just look at the rest of the players that have been through the club and the trophies we won, and just how we have a hold on London is just different.
Crazy.
Got a hold on London. I mean, you're the only London club to
won
the Champions League.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's all good.
Yeah, man. I've won everything.
Okay.
Some people don't even know what the FIFA Club World Cup is.
Nah, so I mean, you were born in 96. So you saw some like very good years of Chelsea. Definitely,
100%. I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and talk about anything that happened before the 2000s. I'm only going to
for sure.
Yeah,
obviously. But growing up, I wouldn't miss a game. I remember I had to convince. There was a channel, I think it was channel 300. I had to convince my mom to buy just to watch it. And a lot of people don't know this, but I had a cousin that played in the Prem. So I was actually also a Villa fan a little bit, which was kind of crazy, but it was just because I used to watch my cousin. Okay. So that kind of got me able to convince my mom to get, because I was like, man, you're not going to let me watch it? So then my mom, I guess I have to pay the extra price for this.
Wait, hold on. I don't even know. Who's your cousin?
John Carew.
What? What? John Carew is your cousin?
So I never met him. I actually never spoke with him or nothing, but that's family right there. Too.
That's crazy.
Shout out John Carew.
Football heritage.
Wow.
That's
so
nuts, bro. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I used to. I was never a striker, so I never tried to mock my game after him or anything. But definitely used to watch all of his games at Villa, and then I used to watch every Chelsea game I could possibly watch.
Man,
respect.
So what do you feel? What do you feel about your team right now? Because I know we talk about them all the time, but how do you feel, man?
Well, first, I'm a little mad that they kicked the true owner out of the club, because that's where everyone started spiraling, if we're being honest. But I think at the moment, right now, I'm content with I shouldn't say current squad, but I'm content with kind of the direction we're going. Sometimes it gets me, I think it's a little embarrassing of how much we're trying to buy, because it's like I always hear people include Chelsea, and it's like I kind of want to. The other day I was hearing rumors that they would accept a price for Noni, and I was like, I'm kind of starting to like the guy. I don't want him to go at this point. So just all these players coming in, everything. I kind of want a more stable squad eventually, but I also do understand that there's some players that do need to get out of here, and we could use a couple signings in some areas. I think the issue right now we're going to face this season is, and I don't think it's a player's fault, it's just an age fault. But when you have young center backs, you have to basically accept that those young center backs are going to make mistakes. I don't think people often do. And I don't think people, when we're criticizing these center backs, I don't think we remember their age, if that makes sense. Yeah. The best center backs are always older, and all our center backs are younger. And if they're going with this younger model, you got to accept that there's going to be mistakes at the back. So I think that we're going to have a lot of high-scoring games. I'm hoping under Maresca we have a little bit more of a consistent lineup that we haven't had for the last couple of years, because I think that also harms the team a lot. When it's just chopping and changing, trying to please every player to get minutes, that's never going to lead to a stable situation in a league format. But yeah.
I mean, you guys just signed Pedro Neto, which is your 8th, 9th signing.
we can agree that a lot of these signings aren't for that 25 first team roster. So it's 8th, 9th, but you have to remember we still have Strasbourg. We still have so it is a little bit different. We do have to get some of these players though off the wages, I think, at least.
Okay. But, I got 2 questions for you. So the first one being, what more additions do you think this Chelsea team currently needs?
They need a whole other 11.
Nah, we don't. I think all right, so I think we have a really solid 11. Now, do we have an 11 that can play the exact style that Enzo Maresca played at Leicester? No, because you're not going to have that with Nkunku and Palmer on the pitch. But you have to find different ways to get, because they're going to be in those half spaces, if we're being honest. So you have to find different rotations into that 3-2, whatever you want to call it, else going forward. I think the positions that we kind of need at this point, I don't even think it's Victor necessarily up top that we need to just come into this team. I'm actually happy with Jackson, but we need at least someone to push Jackson. Like a real person to make sure he's being consistent in his play. He had a decent first year. I know people are kind of critical of him, but for a first year in a Prem, and that's a difficult transition into a league, in a difficult team in a transition moment, he had a good first year. So I'm happy with him.
Tell him.
I think it's more we need transfers out than in, if I'm being honest. And I think there's some maybe personalities, and I'm not going to sit here and say I know which personalities, who it is, but I think there is some harmful personalities in our dressing room that maybe are on a little bit too much money that could go, I think.
So who do you? Oh, it's my fault, Salam. But who would you?
I think you made some really good points.
What did you say?
Go ahead.
Who would you want to go?
Both left wingers at this point. I think both go. With Mudryk, you've invested too much on. But personally, I never agreed with the signing of that one, and I never tried to agree with it. I think we just signed him because Arsenal were interested, but he didn't play a lot of senior matches before coming to the club. There is raw talent there, but I just don't see a finished product. And then Sterling, I actually like Sterling as a player, but I just think at this moment he's not the right fit for the club. So those would be the two that I could say easily, I think, kind of out of the club. Now, after that, it gets a little bit more difficult, but we have too many center backs. You're not going to fit all of them. You're not going to be able to please. There's not enough minutes to go around. So and I believe we have too many left-footed center backs. If I'm
facts.
So that's gonna, which is it's funny because that's such a rare position. Like to get a left-footed center back, that's very rare. I think we have 3 right now. So obviously something
too.
Yeah.
So okay. Sorry, I was saying we just dropped our predictions today for the Premier League season. I didn't have you guys finishing in any of the European spots. I don't see how. Not so much about you guys. For me, it's just more about everybody else. I just think that everyone else kind of has.
Here come the hate, bro. Here come the hate.
Listen, no, I'm just saying everyone had an opportunity to submit their picks. That was just mine. But where do you have Chelsea finishing this season?
I think
I saw that.
I think top 4. I think if it's top 4, I think.
Shit!
I think it's that 4 spot. I think it's that 4 spot, but I think
top 4 is realistic.
I think that 4 spot. I'm not saying we're challenging the league.
That's why I had us too
into that top 4. If not, it would be 5th. I think the biggest thing about this season is the pressure in the first 2 months, because
agreed.
That first 2 months might not be the cleanest of months, but if we don't take big hits and points, I think October, November time, people are going to be very scared of this team, honestly. Yeah. And with the players, if they start to gel and that locker room stays positive, that November time, people will be afraid of the team. Now, that's a lot given the last 2 years. Going into November, we haven't been the most positive of clubs. So, but being in a lower European competition, still having a bigger squad, so those Thursdays, Sundays aren't going to impact us as much. I think we'll have a pretty good year. And even if you look last year with the craziness and form we had, we were still right up there at the end of the season.
3 points off top 4
with a wild season. Season. So I just think if this year, health permitting, I think if we have some more consistent lineups, I think we'll be in a good place. And I don't think that Palmer was a one-off, that Palmer season. So I
don't think so either.
Yeah. So I
don't think that he replicates the same numbers though. I think that you can't put up those same numbers.
Why do you not think that?
Not based off of his ability. I just think that
I know.
He scored a lot last year. I just think that it was one of those seasons where we look back and we're like, oh wow, that was. I don't see another. What is it? 33 plus goals?
Nah, he's just starting, Salon.
Yeah, but I think an underrated thing about Palmer
this is nothing
is his ability to create, and people don't look at a lot of the assists he could have also had on some low confident players last year, where you have Christopher Nkunku coming in as well, creator. That's where it starts getting dangerous, because it's not the team relying on a confident Palmer. If you look at Nkunku, he tells himself he's a confident player that's also going to create. So that's 2 players that be pretty scary for the Prem.
My thing is though, Cole Palmer, he was at City. No one really knew. People knew there was a player there. Now we didn't know that he was going to blow up like he did last season. Have the type of season that he had with Chelsea.
Yeah,
but I don't think he's going to have those same numbers because teams didn't have a chance to figure him out. Like Saka, once these double teams start,
7 months.
But
once these double teams start, we are going to see a decrease in production. Now he's going to get the PKs. We already know he's the PK taker, so by default, he should have 5 to 6 goals from that. Simple.
Yeah. But
simple. But I don't think these numbers are going to be
This is Saka.
But we have
these double teams are coming.
But we have more weapons now, so I think that
Thank you. That's what I was going to say.
up the field a little bit more.
I can agree.
And
It will be easier actually.
yeah, I wanted what
it
I'm
might
really
be a little easier.
Nice.
I don't know. Those numbers are hard to get, so I don't know if it'll be easier. But I think he will replicate it. But I think it's going to be interesting to see who the 2 are in front of the 3, because I'm looking at preseason. I thought really highly of Lavia the whole preseason. And I understand Enzo and Caicedo had heavy legs because of tournaments. So they're obviously in a different stage. He's obviously progressing from an injury. But I think Lavia so far has to be in that 2. I don't think that it will start that way, but what I saw out of the preseason, I'm impressed, honestly.
No, that's a great point. But to your point earlier, I also think Nkuku's going to have a much better season, so I don't think that Palmer will necessarily – I don't think he'll put up those numbers, but I think it's going to be because the team overall, I think, does better.
Yeah.
But you guys have a tough game 1 against Man City, a team that we actually watched live. What was the final score? 4-2?
4-2, yeah.
4-2. What are your thoughts going into that game 1?
So historically, City starts slow.
Yeah.
Historically. So I think that will be that first week thriller game, to be honest, looking at it. Now, who comes out of the thriller? No one really knows, especially those early first week games. But I think it's going to be
a 4-4 draw.
I think it will be high scoring. I think it will be 1 goal apart.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm going to sit here and say I hope we get the 3 points, but I think that game could go either way. And I think that's going to be a game that everyone should really circle, because that Sunday match is going to – I think that will be the game of the first week, honestly.
I can agree. Either that or that Villa West Ham. I'm not gonna lie, that Villa West Ham is about to smack.
I think Villa's going to be a team that shocks people again. I guess they 100%. Did a little bit last year, but I think the moves they're making in that team as well, like that squad, they're looking. I think the Prem is just a good league. This, you're watching all the pickups these teams are making and everything. I think it's just heads and shoulder over any other league.
West Ham.
Yeah,
West Ham's gonna be crazy this year.
Yeah, you see Jared Bowen with the armband now. Hey,
he deserves it.
Crazy.
No, that's my boy. Shout out JB.
All right, I guess I'll have a question for the group. Out of the big clubs, what club do you think is going to make either, you could say, the biggest drop or most underwhelming season this year?
Liverpool,
100%.
So everyone
I agree.
say that.
Mm-hmm. I will say Liverpool, and Salam, I know he's going to say Liverpool.
No,
I know Mike has a difference.
No, for me, it's probably Spurs.
Spurs.
Cornelius?
You know how I feel about Spurs.
Yeah.
Spurs will Spurs, man.
Yeah, Spurs will Spurs.
I have Liverpool.
So I don't really even hold them in the big 6. I know we keep saying that, but I'm on the Liverpool train. They haven't done anything, and I don't know much about Arne Slot for me to come in and have the confidence that he's just going to be able to hit the ground running. So Liverpool has the most question marks for me.
Yeah, I would actually say similar as well. I just wanted to see.
Yeah, no, I'm telling you, I feel like Liverpool is And listen, all of our teams are going to take knocks, injuries, all of this. It's just part of the game. Liverpool are 2 injuries away from being trash. Like, I'm sorry, but they are 2 injuries away from being very, very bad. Their midfield, I'm sorry, if you think Harvey Elliott and Curtis Jones are going to get you through this season, you're mistaken and wrong. I'm sorry, all you Liverpool fans. You're mistaken, man.
No, they rely on Gravenberch in them.
Man, and those guys can't even stay healthy. You know what I mean? Like, your backup can't stay healthy. It's a long league, you know. There's going to be so many games. We know Champions League, formats, even more games this year. So, yeah, man, I don't know about that team, bro. I really don't.
Like to G's point, like the lack of investment in the summer is going to be a problem, obviously, for the course of the season. But I also just think that it sends the wrong message to like some senior players there, because it's like, I'm just using this as an example, but you guys had the season that you had last year, new coach, new era. I think Virgil, Salah, Trent all have a year left on their contract. And it's just kind of like, I don't know,
They need to secure those.
You need to secure those guys, but again, like I'm not re-signing that contract unless I'm looking around and seeing that, oh, you guys are making steps forward. We are trying to rebuild here. But if it's just going to be like, oh, we're just going to kind of work with what we had, which was good, but to be fair, like it wasn't good enough to win the title. So like,
I think if you're going based on strategies right now in the Prem, obviously Chelsea's making the most aggressive strategy, which is often seen as a mistake. Yeah. And I agree when people say that as well. But I think what Liverpool's doing is like the polar of that. Yeah. Is they're not being aggressive at all and not making any real signings, which I think is going to end up being a mistake for them because they don't want to rush us. And when you bring in a new manager, you just have to bring in a couple players that knows that manager's identity. I respect it a little bit more even now watching it with Shrewsbury Hall. I wasn't that big of a fan. I remember watching his first preseason game with Chelsea. It was like, man, this guy's in all the right spots, but it's because he had a year under Maresca. Facts, so he just knows the system. He's like a player kind of tailor-made right now for the system. Yeah. So it's something that maybe as spectators we kind of take for granted. But when the player side of things, when you're going into a manager that you're familiar with and you know what you're doing, that's completely different when you're playing. You're not even second guessing. It's just first nature. So I think Liverpool might be a tough thing that they're going to have to overcome this year.
That's a great point.
That's good, man. Well, let's get into some rapid fire questions, man. To kind of wrap things up. Game days. What are you listening to? Are you a music guy? And if so, what are you listening to?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm going to probably say the most generic, but I'm listening to that Future, Lil Durk, anything now I got to put Boss Man D-Lo in there now.
Yeah. Okay.
That type of, I need a little bit of pop in the music. I'm not like I hear some people say chill stuff, but I need some energy.
I remember what's going on in that locker room, man. For sure. Question for me, favorite African players growing up?
That's a good one. If we're going in the midfield, I'll say Yaya.
Always.
Has to be very entertaining, obviously, to watch. Vieira would be another one.
My God.
And then obviously it's easy. I have to go with Drogba. That's an easy one. And then to be honest, though, Chelsea's had some really good African midfielders as well.
100%.
So I think that's where you see a lot of Africans becoming Chelsea fans because of that. Mm-hmm. Especially you can see it with Nigeria for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Victor Moses.
I just thought about this one, but I would love to ask you because you're a coach and also because you're a Chelsea fan. Do you consider N'Golo Kante a 6 or an 8?
Wow.
That's a good. I think so. Where we talk just in general in his career.
In general, because I have my opinion. I don't want to say what it is, but there's
I would say more of an 8. I would say more of an 8, and it's just because of the distance he covers. When you play 6, especially even now with double pivots and everything, but especially when he was playing at his prime, you had to be very disciplined in your positioning. And he was always someone that covered a little. I remember when he signed for Chelsea, I was nervous because I thought he covered too much ground. So I was like, he needs to be disciplined to be coming to Chelsea. He can't just be running all over the place. But then you kind of start to fall in love with it when you see him on the pitch winning all those tackles. And it seems like there's 2 of them on the pitch. It's not just one of them. So yeah, I think he's more of an 8. But I would argue that in the modern games, there's not really an 8 anymore.
Yeah. Okay.
It's either double 6s or you could either, I guess you could call them double 8s, but I would say more double, like 2 10s.
Yeah.
In the modern.
Okay. I can agree with that.
Off the pitch, you got any hobbies?
To be honest, at least right now, my life kind of just revolves around football. If it's not coaching or playing, those are the 2 biggest things I do. I try to obviously do some extra stuff. I used to golf a little bit. Haven't been golfing as much though. Watching movies, just chilling with my girlfriend, one of those things. That's normally what I do off the field though. But everything else is on the pitch. If it's not practice, coaching, it's long hours on the field for real.
Okay. Yeah. What's kind of random? What has been your favorite part about coaching? Because I know like once you, I don't know exactly when it started. But I just remember like once you got injured, I feel like you really started getting heavy into the coaching bag. And just kind of throughout your journey, like what's the one thing that you've kind of fallen in love being on the other side of things?
I think it's where there's 2 moments. I think it's one really seeing the biggest thing is obviously connecting with players and connecting with the kids, because you don't realize how much influence you have over them. And this is where being connected, a youth program, being connected to a pro team is big, but they go to the games, the first person they want to see play is me. And then the first thing they're talking about is me doing something. If it's, let's say I score a goal in a game, the next day at training, they're going to be talking about it. And it's just like, dang, I'm a role model to them. And it's just, that's like a different feeling a little bit. And then, but the development, watching these kids develop, watching them start to grow a passion for the game. In America, football is not the first. American football is real, and basketball is over what we call football. So it's like seeing them start to grow that passion for the game and it becoming their favorite sport, and them wanting to have these high aspirations to play the next level, or if that's college, if that's being pro, if that's even making their high school team. I think that's kind of like, that's the good feeling of it. It's like, okay, I'm an impact to them kind of gaining this passion for the game, because I always had it. So I want everyone to have the same passion I have for the game. That, that's basically it.
All right. Yeah. I've been asking everyone who's played overseas or spent any amount of time overseas, what would you say, your favorite Brazilian meal was, your favorite meal in the Gambia was?
In Brazil, I'm trying to think. Brazil was also different because a lot of the meals had pork in them, and I don't eat pork. Yeah. So it was definitely in Brazil. I had to watch what I was eating a lot and everything, but they have like a type of barbecue. I'm trying to think of how it's even called, but it's like basically what they just call barbecuing on the grill. But it's kind of, if you ever went to like Fogo de Chao, any of those Brazilian type restaurants, they kind of have a similar style, but that was always fire when we were going to like the traditional version of Fogo de Chao, or like I think the other one in the States is called like Texas de Brazil.
Texas de Brazil, like a steakhouse.
The traditional version of it is fire for real. So,
Okay.
So and then Gambia, that's my culture. So
Yeah, it's home. It's home.
all the food is my favorite food. My mom's cooking.
Facts.
Facts.
Is there a tradition? I mean, obviously jollof, but is there like a traditional Gambian meal?
Like, so what a lot of non-Gambians like is called domada. It's like a peanut butter stew.
Okay, ground pea soup.
Ground pea soup. Yeah, we have it in Liberia too.
We have it in Ghana. Yeah.
See, that's the thing with you West Africans, bro. It's all the same. It's just like you call it this, I call it that.
Low key.
Oh, you mean peanut butter soup? Yeah, peanut butter. Sorry, not peanut butter soup. Peanut butter soup. No, yeah, you guys are funny, man.
One more. Kendrick or Drake?
Kendrick, easily.
Come on.
Oh, come on.
Really?
Our first Kendrick.
Kendrick was always my favorite rapper, so that's an easy question. Now, if we're going based on the beat, obviously Kendrick again. But,
okay.
Yeah, I just feel like Kendrick, man. Like, if we were to equate him to like football terms, give me somebody who doesn't he doesn't have a great performance all the time, but every blue moon he comes in and drops a worldie.
I think it's the opposite. Kendrick. I would say I think every time Kendrick has a performance, it's like I'll compare him to Neymar. Neymar's always hurt, but if you see Neymar on the pitch, everyone's like, "Oh, we know what he could have been if he could have just stayed healthy his whole career." So that's what I was.
Okay, so that's a good analogy.
So who is Drake? So
I don't even know, man.
Cristiano.
I mean, either one. If you said Messi, Cristiano, either one would be a good comparison, to be honest. But I mean, they're really obviously they do it in their different ways. But when you look at music, they're both like Cristiano and Messi, where they're both at the top. It's like this, and it's always going to turn into competition when you have two people at the top. That's all it is.
I feel that.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was gonna go to the last one.
All right, you go ahead. You got it.
All right. We always ask all of our guests this: all-time teammate, five-a-side team.
So
all-time teammate.
All right. So like pro players or like
every teammate you've ever had in your entire career.
You can put Gabriel in there. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, man. That's actually difficult. So I picked 4 players.
You got to pick 4 players and a keeper, so 5 total. Yeah.
All right. So if I'm going keeper, I will go. To be honest, my keeper last year, again going similar, he had pretty good feet. His name was Alex Sutton. Okay. He plays at the MLS Next team now. I would probably go him, to be honest. Okay. I would go one of my current teammates, Darwin Espinal. He's an attacker. He would definitely be in my 5-a-side team.
He's balling for y'all right now.
Yeah. He's a good player. Gabriel knows the next player pretty well, but Alex Grieve is definitely in there.
Yeah. That guy's nice.
He was playing in the Scottish Prem. Now he's at Bohemian.
Oh,
okay. So still
really?
Yeah, he just had a transfer. The next one would be Chris Mueller. He was with me at Wisconsin. Plays for the Fire right now.
Chris Mueller.
He'll be up there for sure. I think he still holds the record for most assists ever in D1 soccer.
Yeah.
So I think it was like 22, if I believe right.
Nuts.
He's a dog.
Yeah, and then so 4, the last one would have to be my guy. He plays on Charleston right now, Mark Segbers. He's a right back, good player. So that would be my 5 right there.
Okay,
solid.
That's a solid you.
Coached by you.
But if we're going all time ever, just players,
Yeah.
That one's easier for me. That would be I'll go Ederson.
Mm-hmm.
I would make probably a team of almost midfielders. So I'll probably have Vieira. I would have Lampard in there. Now when I'm adding the flair, I'll go Ronaldinho, and then I'll have to get a goal scorer up top. So I'll go with the guy that scored the most goals ever. So CR7.
Oh, there you go. There you go. I thought you were going somewhere else with it.
Oh, who did you think I was going to say?
I thought you were going to say Drogba, and I was like, I respect it. But
I already got my Chelsea stamp with Lampard. You know, I have to put one.
True.
Yeah.
Well, man, we really appreciate you, hopping on, giving us your time, man. It's been a lot of fun. We got 90 minutes in with you, so definitely. Again, you've been supporting one of the people who have been supporting us from the very start. So, man, just appreciate your continued support. We really wish you the best. Quickly before we leave. How long does your guys' season go? Just for the people who aren't familiar with it.
So it's about 9 months as well, like most other U.S. leagues, but it goes until I think this year it's a little bit shorter. It ends at the end of October.
Okay.
So we're basically on like the final push of the regular season. Yeah. Regular season ends in the end of September. Then we get a tiny break before playoffs start.
Yeah. And when's your anticipated return?
Well, so we actually play on Saturday.
Yeah.
I won't play Saturday, but I'll probably be playing I'm hoping the Wednesday.
So, okay.
Yeah, so that should be the return, and hopefully, God willing, that'll be games after that.
So. 100%. But listen, I got you on Foot Mob. You feel me? You and King on Foot Mob. I'm following.
Yeah, I'm gonna get you down too,
man.
For sure, man.
I'm waiting to see that. Abdul's in the lineup.
You see it. Don't worry, you'll see it soon.
Absolutely.
Bless.
But I appreciate you guys having me on. Obviously, this was good kicking with y'all and everything, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. You're welcome back anytime, man.
Absolutely. Thank you again.
I'm gonna hold y'all too.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Come through. It's Africans Talk Football. We can talk about
football, man. Yeah, we'll probably do like like a third of the way into the season. We'll probably do like a check-in. See how everybody's feeling. Maybe even do a little rest of the season. Prediction. We'll have you back on, man.
All right, bet. Sounds good.
But yeah, man, appreciate everybody for tuning in. And as always, good luck to you in your future endeavors.